He don't play fair. He only fights dirty.
Violence means different things to different people. And this recent event simply highlights that factor. So credit goes to John Bravo. He's actually done a lot of coverage of Wes Watson and his exploits. Check out his channel. I'll put the link in the description.
Everybody send this video to your favorite Wes Watson call out dude and tell him to suck my and pull the up. Straight up. Just tell him to stop talking. He gave you the address and the time. Go see if he's there. Because he will be there.
Wes Watson, what can I say? He's a great case study for a criminal psychologist like me. He's known in the big circle for, or shall we say the big cage, for his criminal exploits, but maybe we won't talk about that. Wes Watson has a history of calling people out. He's a big social influencer within the fitness scene, and in all fairness has become much more notorious as time's been going on.
People meet me there when I clearly say, follow me out of the parking lot. We won't have any problems at the gym.
Every day,
you can follow me down the street.
when I pull up, I'm just hoping.
But if you want,
pussy ass
come down to
bitches
that
online
and get
was
your ass
just man enough for me to respect and held their word and came and kicked my motherfucking ass. I just wish there were still men that would hold their word. I would respect them if they just pulled up and handled business. Just, you know, it's almost disappointing.
I'm not going to dig too much into what constitutes self-defense because I think common sense prevails in this situation. It's blatantly not a self-defense situation. But what this event does do is highlight the difference and the perspective of a violent encounter. And this is why you should pay attention to it.
So he sends me a challenge, and then he blocks me. I make a video online, it gets thousands of views, and then others decided they want to challenge him. And now we have a 7-foot monster that wanted to go challenge him in person, but I don't think he knew that Wes Watson doesn't play fair.
Now, there is some speculation that the monster actually has learning difficulties. Now, I don't know the degree to that, whether the young man is autistic. That being the case is something to consider when you're looking at people and how they interpret situations. It's one thing calling someone out in your DMs and saying, come down and fight me, I'm going to be at the gym. But it's another thing if you interpret that from a more simplistic mindset. And in that sense, you can actually say that some people just simply have a child view of what a fight would actually be. So keep watching. I'm going to break this down in a very adult term, just for those kids that sit in the back of the classroom. So keep watching. Now, this event had all the typical hallmarks of a violent encounter that you'll see in the streets every day in any city. The tactics and the characteristics of the attack were stereotypical. I'm going to avoid using the word victim because on face value, these two individuals agreed to fight. The young man walked into the gym, put his phone down to film the event in the first place. Now, of course, I'm not saying that justifies the punishment that he received, but what I am saying is that he wasn't an innocent victim. He stepped into that gym to call out Wes Watson. Now, of course, Watson's response was not proportional to the call out. Wes Watson takes off his weight belt and uses it as an improvised weapon.
So if you see here, you can see the little bitch boy take out the watch and put it in his pocket because he knows what he's gonna do. Now take a look. You see the monster lunge forward. I can't tell if he's going after Wes or if he's being pushed from this footage, but you can see the hassle with the dumbbell in his hand, with his arm around his back, and then Wes is pulling his ponytail.
You've got to be so careful having long hair in a fight because your hair will often be used against you. You don't want any disadvantage. And in this case, he's been pulled down by his hair and kicked in the face by someone else.
And then we have another one of the goons throwing a kick to his face and then holding him down with his other hand. And then the biggest pussy of them all, this fat pig, he throws a kick to make it look like he did something, the piece of shit.
This is much more of an issue of dominance. This is what we would refer to as a punishment beating. Yes, there's an issue of dominance, and that was asserted by the group. They allowed the leader of the pack to assert even more dominance by actually corralling the victim and making it very, very difficult for him to fight back. But more importantly, the beating that went on afterwards was much more about punishment than it was dominance.
And then over here, you got Wes on top throwing over 45 punches right here alone, and this other asshole with the dumbbells still in his hand. And then somebody from the gym came over to try to pull Wes off of him, and then Wes pushed him away, and they kept on holding him down, poking in his eyes and pulling his hair. And right when you think it's over, having taken over 50 shots to the head and 7 soccer kicks by Wes alone, he wasn't finished yet.
Came over here and called him on the crowd. Push that. Came over here and called him on the crowd. Push that. Yeah. Oh, baby boy. Tell you what.
It's quite a submissive position. It's a position of someone that's giving up or being humbled. And the thing is, you've got to understand that human beings are effectively animals. We are aggressive and we act with a level of dominance in violent encounters. And just like dogs, when it comes to it, one dog will be more superior and affect their level of dominance, whereas the other will quite often back down and be submissive. It's that saying, running away with your tail between your legs.
Look at you pussy.
At the end here, you can see this little fat pig with a smile on his face. And then, look over here. You see that little ding on the floor? That's a piece of his ponytail. He pulled it out of his head, that asshole.
And that's something that you could say is quite insipid. You see, it's one thing to be dominant, it's another thing to punish. You could say that dominance and punishment goes hand in hand. When someone's dominant, they'll punish someone that they view as a lesser status than they are. And from a psychology perspective, this is a classic example of social dominance feeding into a sense of punishment. 58 punches plus 3 soccer kicks to the head. All of them when a young lad was quite clearly being submissive. He'd quite clearly given up. He was never in the fight and was never going to be. If we're going to use the word victim, and that's hard to say because he responded to the call out, so therefore he enabled these actions against him, I would actually say that he was quite naive in the sense that he thought this was going to be a fair one-on-one fight. Let's face it, was never going to happen because at the end of the day, there are no rules in a street fight. And this is the child view that some people still have, that there's a sense of fairness when someone attacks you. At the end of the day, you walk into a situation and the guy's got friends, they're going to jump you too. And if there's weapons to hand or to be improvised, there's always going to be an obvious change in the situation. All the hallmarks of a violent street encounter were there. And this is so typical in any environment in any city around the world. The use of improvised weapons, a group attack, hemming the victim in so that they can't run away. And most importantly, the mindset of punishing the victim, breaking them down not just physically, but psychologically as well. And that's the most important thing to take note in this attack. And that's the lesson to learn about the people that you have to defend yourself against. I'm not grandizing this behavior, and saying, you know what, this is a great thing to do and this is what we should all be doing. What I'm trying to highlight is that when you're defending yourself, these are the type of people that you actually have to defend yourself against. And this is a mentality that is so dangerous for your health that you have to address your intent and your capability to fight back. And unfortunately, many people have a shortfall in this area. They lack the mental resilience as well as the aggressive intention to fight. So this, I hope, is going to be a wake-up call for many people. A wake-up call that they can actually identify they're going to fight back. And hopefully galvanize that mental mindset in which you create a mindset in which you accept that you have to act with violent intent. To defend yourself, of course, but these are the people that you have to defend yourself against. And as ugly as this is to see, this is the truth and reality of everyday existence. Classic behavior that quite often people will do. So what's the takeaway? I think the takeaway is to use this information to galvanize your own mindset. Understand that the predators, the bad guys that you may encounter in a violent situation, these behaviors are basic 101 of any street fight. And let's face it, if this wasn't in public, it could have even been worse. So the takeaway has to be, use instances like this to remind yourself that you have to defend yourself with violent intention. You have to have the intent, not just the capability, to push forward and defend yourself. And at the end of the day, understand that the person that you are defending yourself against won't show any mercy, won't show any kindness. And worst of all, they'll use every advantage that they have to bring you down. So use this to shift up a couple of gears and turbocharge your intent and make sure that you fully commit to action. Thanks for watching.